Okay, so we're going to talk quickly about the issue we had with our daughters. I'm Kim Sarubi, by the way. It's my husband, Carl Abramson, full disclosure.
Hello.
We had an issue with our daughters, Ford Focus 2013. The battery started acting up, and kind of what we went through and how we got through the issue without spending a ton of money. So I'll let Carl start with how it started and what he did that started us on this journey.
So basically, we started getting some troubles with a yellow wrench, and then also a stop safely message came up on our car. And after maybe a week or two, it just stopped. It would not start. It would not charge. Nothing would happen. So I went online, troubleshot it, looked at some people's reviews and some interactions with some people that have had these same issues. Turns out it's a known Ford issue. And a lot of times it's just a 12-volt battery. So I went and replaced the 12-volt battery after kind of looking through all the codes that I came up with, and it didn't work. So I moved on and said, okay, what else could it be? And so it turns out there were two things. There's a wire harness issue, and there's also a coolant problem with the battery, both of which are a little more expensive, but it basically boiled down to I need to take it to Ford and figure out what's going on. So
now you had borrowed.
I had borrowed some testers.
And you had codes that you found. So you went to Ford and said, I found these codes. And then Ford was like, that's great. You found it, but
we're going to do it ourselves.
We're going to do it, and we're going to charge you. So they charged about how much to just run the code?
It was about $250 just to look at it.
Just to look at it.
Yeah. Okay. And it was anywhere from a 2 to 60 day wait.
Just to get it. So you finally get in.
So I finally get it in, and they come back and go, yeah, it's your 12-volt battery. Anyway, they replaced the 12-volt battery. It doesn't work. So now they want to scan it again, look at it again. And now they come back with, oh, wait, you've got a coolant leak, and everything is basically melted inside the battery, and it needs to be replaced. And by the way, it'll cost about $35,000.
Right. Because I remember getting that call.
Yeah.
Like 35. And then you said to me, but wait, they had coupons.
Right.
And said what?
We can get it down to 28,000.
Okay. And I was still like, no.
Let's go buy a couple new cars instead, right?
Right. So at that point, so I had met someone named Skip who runs the Chip, sorry. He runs the hybrid and electric vehicle. He has a dealership.
He has a shop locally. Yeah. Very bright guy, very knowledgeable, knows everything about batteries. And I brought him the issue, and he goes, I can fix it.
Right.
I can work on it. I'll deal with it.
Right. And this is Chip is right here in the Nashville area.
Yeah, he's 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
It's a great guy to know. And he's got some contacts all around. And so basically he said, let me look at it. Let me see what Ford did. Let me, basically check their work. And about 30 minutes later, he said, yep, it's the battery, and here's what we can do. So what it boiled down to was I had to actually find another location out in California. So, 2,000 miles away. And he said, do this, have Chip take the battery, send it to me, I'll repair it, and I'll send it back to you. So it ended up costing about $2,000 to have that process done. And Chip's portion is going to be about $1,000. So it's going to end up being about $3,000 to do what Ford wanted 28,000 for.
Right. And just to make this clear, so really there wasn't anybody local who works on batteries.
Not at all. No one wants to touch it. I looked all over. I searched junkyards. I searched every dealer I could find.
So the junkyard, that's a good point, because that was another option, just to find an old
find an old junk car that had a working battery. Yeah. Right. But still the issue was, now I've got a junked car. What do I do with it? And how much is that going to cost me? And, even if I get it for $5,000, what do I do with everything else? I just need the battery. And then I've got this hunk of metal.
So going back to the guy sent you an email, and what did he say? You had swollen.
So he said a lot of the battery cells were swollen. It was in pretty bad shape. He sent me some pictures, which I didn't really know what I was looking at. But basically the coolant, they basically run the coolant between the battery cells to keep it cool. And it's really effective when you're doing like supercharging, which this car won't even do. but it's just kind of a known problem that Ford had with these model vehicles. And in fact, they knew it so well that the car will not allow more than a certain amount of juice to flow through that car. It just won't work. So basically everything melted. So the guy said, the coolant system's just not going to work. And because there's a problem with it, it's completely stopping the entire system from working. And so it won't charge anything. The 12-volt battery is dying because of it. The other batteries won't charge. And so I was able to drive after seeing Ford dealer from them home. And that was it. That's the only thing.
Yeah, and I think this is why I wanted to have this conversation, because I think a lot of people, as they're getting into EVs, they're going, oh, the battery and the battery issues, especially EVs that are much older, where, you know, there wasn't a lot of known issues, and things are kind of popping up now, and people are scared. Well, if I have to pay $35,000 on a car I only spent $8,000 on, what's the point? Just get a new car. So I think you're going to see more companies. Obviously, California have had EVs a lot longer. They have literally businesses that have popped up, like the one we have got the battery fixed at. But you'll start seeing more and more where people understand, know how to fix, and it won't be, you know, 35,000. It'll be $3,000. But when you think about what could break down in the car, the battery's it.
Is about it.
So, you know, in the long run, you're not going to have a lot of other things break down. And if you can really fix your battery, it's a good fix. So, yeah. So, I mean, is there anything else you want to add? We're supposed to pick up the car today, and maybe we'll do a follow-up just to kind of show people how it's working and how it's going since we got the battery repaired.
Yeah, I mean, it's been very educational going through the process, but there's ways around it, and it's going to get easier. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll talk to you later.